Okay, good morning everyone. We are in a new parak. It's a short off today. New parak. Hatcheles ene makeves as a lavan v'alavan ene makeves as a tcheles. Blue and white. Not the cookies for those that are, yeah. Blue and white, tzitzis. Talking about tzitzis. Blue and white tzitzis. So the blue and white tzitzis, there's different opinions how many blue, how many white, but as Rashi says, one opinion is 2 blue, 2 white. You know, there's 4 in each corner. So 2 blue and 2 white. So the blues are not ma'akev the white, the whites are not ma'akev the blue. It doesn't mean you could only have 2 strings. It means you could have 4 white or 4 blue. L'chadchila, again, according to Rashi explains 2 and 2. There's opinion 3 and 1, 3 and half, really 3 and half. But again, the way Rashi explains is 2 and 2. So l'chadchila you have 2 and 2. But if you have 4 whites or 4 blues, it's not going to be ma'akev. It's going to be fine. If you have only one, the tefillin shel rosh or tefillin shel yad, you still put it on, and you don't, obviously better to put on both. But if you only put on one, you put it on. So let's say our Mishnah is not like Rebbe. Why? The Tanya, because it says, so you see the tzitzis. And we'll see how that implies. But they're ma'akev each other. And if you don't have 2 and 2, again, whatever the number is here, we're assuming 2 and 2. If you don't have both blue and white, you're not yotzei tzitzis. It's not ma'akev. And even if you have 4 of one, or 3 and 1, or whatever, 4 of one, and none of the other, it's not ma'akev. My time at the Rebbe, because what does it say? Vayolachem letzitzis. Darber b'nei Yisrael v'martaliam v'asulahem tzitzis al kanfei v'igdehem ledorosam. V'nasnu al tzitzis hakanaf petil techelas. So you have tzitzis hakanaf and you have petil techelas. So what is it? My time at the Rebbe dichsiv hakanaf. When it says you have to have tzitzis al kanfei v'nasnu al tzitzis hakanaf min kanaf. It needs to be like the knaf. And we know that most shirts are white. Most shirts should be white. This is the source that yeshivish people wear white shirts. This is the source. So most shirts, back and then at least, were white. So it says tzitzis hakanaf. It should be min kanaf. It should be the same color as the shirt. So what's the same color as the shirt? White. Very, very interesting. That's what Rashi says clearly. Hainu lavan dirov taliso shel pishtim hein ulavanos. Most talisos are of pishtim and they're lavanos. So what do you have? So you have white tzitzis. And then it says what? Uchsiv petil techelas. Then it says you should have petil techelas, a thread of blue. V'amar Rachmana uri'isem oso. What is oso? Singular. Ad de'ikar tarvayu b'chad. They need to be singular, they need to be one, you need to have both. If you don't have both, you're not going to be yotzei. V'rabbanan uri'isem oso kol chad l'chudei mashma. Doesn't mean uri'isem oso you have to have both and it's singular. Urisem the blue, Urisem the white, but if you happen to not have both together at the same time, it's going to be Yotzei. Now the Rabbanan agreed, you should have both. It says in the Pasuk that you have to have Kanaf, Psil Techelas, you have to have white and blue. But they're arguing about B'di'evid. Says Rebbe, you're not Yotzei. Or Urisem Oso, you need to have both. Says the other one that no, they're not ma'akev each other, and B'di'evid, if you don't have both, you have 4 of one or 4 of the other, you're going to be Yotzei. Says a Gemara, Lema delok Rebbe, so it seems like it's not like Rebbe, because our Mishnah says that they're not ma'akev each other. If you have white and you don't have blue, or you have blue and you don't have white, it's not going to matter. And Rebbe clearly says that what? If you don't have both, you're not yotzei. Says a Gemara, no. Amar Rav Yudah Amar Rav afilu temer Rebbe. Lo nitzucha el lekadem. No. What's our thing talking about? We're talking about lekadem. Our Mishnah is talking about that they're not ma'akev each other when you put in the strings. Rebbe agrees. It is ma'akev. Rebbe will hold the whole time. It's ma'akev. You need both. 2 and 2, let's say. The Rabbanan will say you don't need both. You could just have all white or all dark. Again, b'di'evid. L'chachila, you should do, everybody agrees 2 and 2. What are they arguing about? Or what does Rebbe agree with? Rebbe agrees it's not ma'akev, which we thought wasn't our Mishnah. We thought that our Mishnah couldn't be Rebbe. No, our Mishnah is talking about when you actually put the strings into the tzitzis. So Rebbe will tell you you're actually supposed to put in the lavan first, because it mentions lavan first in the pasuk. Not only does it say lavan and tchelas in the pasuk, blue and white, it mentions the white first. So lechatchila, he says, not only do you have to have both, and even b'di'evid you have to have both, and they're ma'akev each other if you're missing either one of them, but you also have to put them in a certain order. You have to put in the white strings first, and then the blue strings. But I agree, I'm not going to be that crazy, I'm not going to be that machmir, if you don't put in the white strings and then the blue strings, but you put in the blue strings and then the white strings, as long as you still have both, I'll say that you yotzei the mitzvah. Rabbanan will say that what? Of course, if you put them in different orders, it's okay, because he says that if you don't even put in the white at all, or you don't even put the blue in at all, b'diavad, it's going to be okay. That's the machlokes that we're saying. So we're saying that our Mishnah can be Rebbe if you assume that in our Mishnah, according to Rebbe. Again, we don't have to explain our Mishnah according to Rabbanan. According to Rabbanan, it's pashut. It's pashut pshat. Hatcheles and makaves lavan and makaves hatcheles. You don't need both b'diavad in the tzitzis. Within Rebbe, where you do need both in the tzitzis, how do you explain our Mishnah? It's talking about the order that you put them into the beged. If you happen to put them out of order into the beged, eina ma'akev, it'll still be yotzei b'diavad. That's what the Gemara says. Amar Gemara, says our Gemara, D'ktanya mitzvah lahaktim lavan techeles, v'imhiktim techeles lavan yatsa ela shechiser mitzvah. According to Rebbe, and maybe even according to the Rabbanan again, you still l'chadchila should do it in order. If you're missing it, you're chiser the mitzvah. So what mitzvah you chiser according to Rebbe? I don't understand. My chiser mitzvah. Chiser means you're missing. You're lacking something. What's the mitzvah you're missing? Eili machiser mitzvah delavan v'kiyah mitzvah detecheles. If it means that if you put in the blue first, and then you put in the white, you put them out of order, then what? Then you're missing the mitzvah of lavan. But you got the mitzvah of techeles because you put in the techeles first. That can't be, because what happens if you're missing the mitzvah of lavan according to Rebbe? You're missing everything. You can't be missing the mitzvah of lavan, because once you're missing the mitzvah of lavan, then you're missing tzitzis, because you need both. So what does it mean? L'Rebbe kuvei me'akev adari, they're me'akev, amar Yehuda Marav, shechiser mitzvah v'asa mitzvah. Umay chiser mitzvah, d'lo avad mitzvah min hamufchar. So that's fine. So it says again, what does it mean? Mitzvah min hamufchar, you go and you put in the white and then you put in the blue. If you put in the blue and then the white, as long as they're both in there at the end of the day, chiser mitzvah, you didn't do the mitzvah min hamufchar, because you didn't put them in order, but at the end of the day, you were still yotzei the mitzvah as long as you end up with both in the tzitzis at the end of the day. Says in Gemara, Tinoch lavan dina ma'akeves ha'techeles, techeles dina ma'akeves ha'lavan, ma'ihi. Very sharp question. We said two things in the Mishnah. Again, we're working within Rebbe now. Rebbe says, again, the Mishnah is talking about putting them in order. So he says, lavan eino ma'akeves ha'techeles. If you put in the techeles first, even though you didn't do the right thing, the lavan, the white, will not be ma'akev the techeles. It's not going to ruin the techeles. It's not going to ruin itself. That's fine. We understand. But what does the next part of the Mishnah mean? Techeles eino ma'akeves ha'lavan. That if you put in the lavan first, then the techeles is not going to ruin it. Shkayach, you're supposed to put in the lavan first. So I understand the one way that says if you put in the techeles first, then the lavan's not going to ruin it. Right. Or the techeles is not going to ruin the lavan, however you want to say it. But the opposite would then be if you put in the lavan first, it doesn't get ruined. Shkayach, you're supposed to put in the lavan first. It's like you're saying if you do what you're supposed to do, then nothing bad is going to happen. Of course not. You did what you're supposed to do. Says the Gemara, what does it mean? Amar Rami, Barchama lo nitzcha l'talis shekula techeles. No, it's talking about a talis that's totally techeles. Going back to what we said, what does the pasuk say? Kanaf. It has to be whatever the color of the garment is. The corner, which means the color of the garment. If the garment is kulo blue, then which one would you think you put in first? Blue. The blue. Says the Gemara, let's see what it says. He doesn't explain, but let's see. In Marnami, Arbalei Levi Lishmuel, Aryoch, like Gur Aryeh, king. Lo tiyasev akracha ad mefarish lila hamilsa. Don't sit on your legs until you explain to me the following milsa. Our Mishnah, Mahi Amar Leilo Nitzcha Ela Lisadin B'tzitzis, Di Mitzvah Legdume Lavan Beresha. My taima hakanaf min kanaf v'aktim techeles lavan les lanba. Ah, that's what it means. So now what are we saying? The same way we said. Most garments are made out of what? Are made out of white linen. So what happens? If it's made out of sudden, if it's made out of white, then what's the mitzvah? Again, we're within Rebbe. Within Rebbe, you need both. And if you don't have both at the end of the day, you're not yotzei the mitzvah. But what's the mitzvah, which we're talking about chisurei mitzvah? What's the mitzvah, which is what our Mishnah is going on, that they're not ma'akev each other, and that if you don't do the mitzvah, you didn't do the mitzvah min hamufchar, but you still yotzei the mitzvah. What's the mitzvah you yotzei? It depends. If it's a white garment, then the mitzvah is that you should do the lavan first. And then it means what? Lavan is eino ma'akev es ha-tcheles. If you put in the tcheles first, then the lavan is not. It's a little bit hard to lavan eino ma'akev es ha-tcheles. Sounds like the lavan doesn't ruin the tcheles, but it's really the tcheles doesn't ruin the lavan. It's both. It's that if you put in the blue first, it's not going to be ruined. So what's the chiddush we said? What's the chiddush? I don't understand. So if you put in the blue first, it's not going to be ruined. That's a chiddush, because you're supposed to put in the white first. It's a white garment. What's the chiddush that if you put in the white first, the blue doesn't ruin it? We said that's obvious. No. The chiddush there is that if it's a blue garment, you're supposed to put in the blue first. If you put in the blue first and you happen to put in the white first by accident, then it doesn't ruin it. Says the Gemara, Tiach lavan de makav is tcheles. Tcheles de makav is a lavan mahi. Amali Rami Berchama lo nitzchel tal shekula tcheles. The mitzvah like dume tcheles bereisha. De hakanaf min kanaf. V'akdim lavan bereisha les lanba. So that's what it comes out. It comes out that according to, sorry, I'm just dealing with the funeral. It comes out that according to the Gemara here, what we wanted to suggest is Rebbe says that you need both. Again, Rebbe says you need both. So what does ma'akev back and forth work? So ma'akev, we didn't know what they mean. So now we're explaining. You need to have both. So what's the ma'akev or not ma'akev? What's not ma'akev about it? It seemingly is ma'akev each other. The not ma'akev part is the order that you put it in. If it's a lavan garment or seemingly any other garment, you have to put in the white first. If you happen to put in the blue first, as long as they're both there at the end of the day, it's going to be good. And if it happens, the chiddush is that if it's a blue garment, you should put in the blue tcheles first. And if you happen to put in the white one first, it's not going to be ma'akev and you're going to be yotzei.
I really don't understand the tzitzis of this. What does it mean you put in blue tzitzis first?
It means you're putting in the tzitzis. So we assume that you put in all four at the same time.
No, but how do you do it? You put new knots, 5
No.
knots?
We're talking about this is not here. The strings are not here. You're taking the string, you're putting in one blue one.
That's not tzitzis. Tzitzis is 5 knots and 8 strings.
He understands. Right. So he's telling you that at the end of the day, when you're finished, you must have 4 strings. 2 of them must be blue and 2 of them must be white.
Well, who cares what order you put them in?
He cares. He's saying it's a mitzvah min
It's
ha-mufchar.
not tzitzis until you do.
I understand, but that's why it makes sense. Mitzvah min ha-mufchar. It's like a hiddur. The hiddur is the putting in the first place. You have nothing here now. The question is how do you start the tzitzis making? So I have 4 strings on the table. I have 2 blue and 2 white. How do I start? So you're going to say, just put them all together. So okay, I can't put them in all together at once. I need to pick up one at a time. Which one should I pick up first? Says the Gemara, well, everything we do in our life is based on the Torah. The Torah says kanaf, so therefore I'm going to go based on the color of the garment. If this is a white garment, I'm going to pick the white one up first, put it through.
I'm asking a different question. I'm saying at what point is that considered a tzitzis?
Seemingly, again, the Gemara is not discussing that, but seemingly once you put
That's
all...
the whole question.
No, it's not. What do you mean? One second. The Gemara is suggesting that you're putting in the 4 strings before you're tying anything. This is not ma'akev. In general, this stuff that we have, seemingly, as we'll see at the end of the Gemara, these knots and stuff is not tzitzis. Tzitzis is having 4 strings hanging from the corner of your garment. 4 strings.
But not 2 strings.
Correct.
So even if you put the 2 tcheles in, it doesn't matter if they go first, because they're not tzitzis until the other 2 show up.
Oh, but that's not his point. That's not what he's concentrating on.
At what point is tzitzis?
He's not concentrating. It's not because you're not yotzei the mitzvah yet. It's because you started the mitzvah the wrong way. Putting in the strings is all part of the beginning of the mitzvah. At the end of the day, when you have all 4 strings here, you're done. I'm saying, when you have all 4 strings here, you have now accomplished a mitzvah. Seemingly, maybe you have to make a knot. We'll see. So now the question is, how do you perform the beginning of the mitzvah? The preparation of the mitzvah is basically what we're talking about, which is what you're saying. So how do you prepare to be yotzei the mitzvah? Once you put in the 4th string, you're yotzei the mitzvah.
How about the 3rd string?
You're not yotzei the mitzvah yet.
What matters?
Because we care.
Which film you put on first?
Which what?
Which film? Hint or?
I have a better,
So, yeah.
Why?
better muscle.
If you put on your rosh, isn't that good?
Can't make the bracha on the
No,
show.
better
Yeah.
muscle, better
Can you
muscle.
make it on shel rosh?
Yes, of course.
So why don't you do it that way?
It's the same thing. No, Rebbe. It's the same thing as like a mitzvah, right? Building. You build a sukkah. So who cares? It's not a sukkah till you put on the schach. Does that mean that putting up the walls is worthless? No, you have to put up the walls. So you're basically asking me, who cares about the...
You can't put the schach first on this, so you have to build the walls first, right?
No, you're asking me who cares about the order.
I understand, but that's not the same thing.
But you're asking me about who cares about the order. That's basically your question. Who cares about the order? The Gemara is saying you're right, but we don't care about the order. But mitzvah min ha-mufcha, you want to do it the right way. You want to follow exactly the way that the rule book says in the Torah. Put in the blue strings first if it's a blue garment. Put in the white string first. You're right. You're not yotzei the mitzvah until you have all 4 in there. And once you put in the last one, you yotzei the mitzvah whether you put in the blue first or the white first. That's what the Mishnah is saying. It's not ma'akev each other. But you want to do it the mitzvah min ha-mufcha way. You want to do it in the hiddur way. You put in the color of the garment first. That's all it's saying.
And if the garment isn't done in the right order,
No, but you're right. You're right. The process is what the mitzvah min ha-mufchar is. At the end of the day, you have all 4. When I take a picture, when I'm done, all 4 are there, and I'm yotzei the mitzvah according to Rebbe, according to everybody, because I have all 4. The question was, did you get there in the lechatchila way, or did you get there in the not mitzvah min ha-mufchar way? Right? You can get places in life. The question is how you got there. So you got there either in the mitzvah min ha-mufchar way, or you got there in the not ideal way. Says the Gemara, throw out everything we just discussed. Amar Rava, midei tziva kagarim. It's ridiculous to suggest that the color of the garment is going to affect which one goes in first. Most garments, as Rashi says, are white. Most garments are white. We go based on the rove. Most garments are white. We go based on the rove. And therefore, he says, Rebbe would say that no matter what, you always put in the white one first. So if you always put in the white one first, now you have back to our original question. If you always put in the white one first, the chiddush of our Mishnah was that if you put in the other one first, you're still yotzei. Well, that only works one way. If you put in the white one first, you're supposed to put in the white one first. If you put in the blue one first, you're still yotzei, you didn't ruin it. So now what does it mean that the tchelis nama'akev the love? And what does it mean if you put in the white one first and you didn't ruin it?
You never put in the blue one. Right.
I never put in the blue one first. So what do you mean if I put the white one in first, I didn't ruin it? Says the Gemara, it's a different case. Ella amarava, o nitzucha ella ligardumin. For the studs. The igridim, stubs, I'm sorry. Thinking studs. Studs. He walked in mental. Studs. El ligardumin. The igradim tcheles v'kai lavan v'igradim lavan. The kai tcheles leslan ba. I said studs. I said studs. Sorry. Stubs. So the stubs. Lo nitzcha el ligardumin. For the stubs. Where did we have this? We had this by the tefillin. Remember we said that stubs. We said how many stubs, right? We said that in order to be yotzei the ritzuos, you have to have a stub left. We said how much are the stubs? Either between this and this, either between this and this, or between this and this, we said, was a little bit bigger, right? We said either between these fingers or between these fingers. So now we have the same thing by tzitzis. How much you have to have left? Forget about the knots for a second. If let's say you have all four coming down and they rip, how much has to be left? Just a stub. Let's just say just this part. And literally, if I have these four things hanging down and the rest of it is gone, I'm yotzei the mitzvah of tzitzis. Imagine that the entire thing is missing. All I have is this little part here. The four bend it over like that. So says the Gemara, how much is it? So what does that have to do with anything? So what's the chiddush that they're not ma'akev each other? As long as you have all four, even if two of the lavans, even if the two lavan ones are stubs, or even if the two techeles ones are stubs, they're not ma'akev each other. That's what the Mishnah says. The white is not ma'akev. It's not in terms of the order. That's ridiculous. We always put in the white first. And the Mishnah, and we hold that what? That if you put in the blue first, you're not going to ruin it. But what's our Mishnah talking about? That's a separate thing. The Mishnah is saying that if you have, theoretically, because you could have, if you have four, it means you could have two of them that are going really far down, right? Just as an example. And you can have the other two that are very short. So if the two, well, you're folding them over, so you could have, I guess, four that are really long. It would be 2 and 2 on each side. But just to imagine, you could have four that are really long and four that are really short. So if these, it's doubled over. So let's just look at it from here. So if the two that are tcheles are very short and the two that are lavan are very long, or the opposite, they're not ma'akev each other. That's the chiddush. You need all four. But they're not ma'akev each other if there's only a stump left, if there's only a little bit left, if there's only a stub left of either one, it's not going to make a difference. So that's what he's saying, Rebbe. You need both lavan and techeles in the beginning, or else you're not yotzei the mitzvah, according to Rebbe. According to Rabbanan, you're still yotzei, because again, b'diavad you can put four of one color. Lichatchila, according to Rebbe, even b'diavad you need all four. What's the chiddush of our Mishnah that they're not ma'akev each other if you need all four? If two of them rip, if one of the colors rips and all you're left with is a little bit left, then you're still yotzei the mitzvah. It's not going to ruin the other one. Says the Gemara, that the stubs of the tcheles are kosher and the stubs of the ezov are kosher. If you only have a little bit of the ezov left, it's still going to be kosher to dip in for the mechatas and the mitzora. V'kama shir gardumin by tzitzis. Amar bar Amdudi, Amar Shmuel, kedei la'advan. How long is too short, or how short is too short? You have to be able to tie. What does it mean you have to be able to tie? So let's see what the Gemara says. Says the Gemara, Ibari lehu, kedei la'anvan kulu be'adadi, or dilma kol chad v'chad l'chudei teku. The way the Rashi explains, you have to be able to make a slip knot. It needs to be long enough that I can make a slip knot with it.
So where are you measuring from? From the garment?
I'm not measuring from the knots. The knots are not here. We don't care about the knots.
Right. So
I'm measuring from the garment. So I'm just using the knots example. So let's assume that the whole thing. What?
It has to be one knot.
It has to be one knot. Right. We'll see in a second. Shartan is by the tefillin. But over here, you have down to here, right? This is how much tzitzis you have left. The question is now you take one of these, right? That's why I'm just using this as an example.
Right.
You take one of these. This is how long it is. Forget about underneath my fingers, not here. You have to be able to tie a slip knot to itself. If you can't tie a slip knot, it's not long enough. The Gemara's question is you have to be able to tie a slip knot to itself, which would require this much string, or do you need enough to tie a slip knot around the other 7 strings? Some type of knot around the other 7 strings, which would require more string, a little bit more, like that. Which one is a teku? If there's a teku in a Gemara like this, and we have to be machmir, and you need not this much, but you need not this much. You need this much, which is enough of this to be able to theoretically, not that you're going to be able to tie it around all of the remaining strings. That's how much you need left in order to be considered to be a stub. Says the Gemara, Boy Ravashi, Alime de lo me'anvi v'ahivo katine me'anvi mai, Amale Ravacha, Breda Raval Ravashi, Kol shekain de minkar mitzvah sayu. Well, now I have another question. The Gemara never leaves anything short. The Gemara says, well, now we know there are two types of strings. There are these strings, which I wear on my summer tzitzis, and then there are the thick talus strings. So we know that it's going to take more of a thick string to be able to make a knot around itself or around other things than it will a thin one. So which one do we care? If you're wearing the thick strings and they rip, which are less likely, but if they rip, do you need to have the amount, which is this much of a thick string to be able to go all the way around all them? Or do you need to have just this amount, which is how much a thin string? So that's the Gemara, we're not going to penalize you for doing the mitzvah better. Right? That's what the Gemara says. We're not going to penalize you, deminkar mitzvah sayu. If you're going to do better, kol shekain deminkar mitzvah sayu. If you're doing the mitzvah even better by wearing the thick ones, we're not going to penalize you. Therefore, you only have to have this much of the thick left, which, had it been thin, would have been enough to make a slip knot around the other ones, even though now that it's thick and all the strings are thick, it's not enough to make a knot around the other ones.
You also say because it's thicker, you can see it better. And that's since it's supposed to be seen.
Correct.
So it can be,
He doesn't say that, but that's correct. Uman Tana de Palagalad Rabbi. So who's this Tana that argues on Rabbi and says that again, that even b'di'evet, if you don't have both colors, you're going to be yot. Say we said Rabbi b'di'evet, even if you don't have both colors, you could have a stub, but you still have to have both colors. But who said that even if you have 4 of white or 4 of black or 4 of dark, it's going to be okay? Haitana hu detani Rabbi Yitzchak Gomer Mishum Rabbi Nasan Shomer Mishum Rabbi Yosef Aglili Shomer Mishum Rabbi Yochanan Benuri Ein lo tcheles mati lavan. If you don't have techeles, you can use lavan, you can use all 4 lavan, and vice versa. That's the other opinion. Let's just end with the next thing. Amar Rava. Shma mina tzarich likshor al kol chulya v'chulya. We learn from this idea that you have to be able to go ahead and you have to tie these knots at each link. Right? Because again, we would have thought maybe, what do you have to do? We might have thought that you don't need any knots. It doesn't say ukshar tam. So what would we think? You have to put the 4 strings like this. Now we might think logistically, we know that also it says gedil, as we'll see in a second. Gedil means that there's a longer one and you have to wrap it. So you might think what? You take the longer one, you wrap it around, and then logistically, you just need to have a knot at the end, or else it's going to unravel. So you would just wrap one of them around, and put 1 knot at the end, even though mine always unravels anyway, but you put 1 knot at the end, just to keep the one that's wrapped all the way around. Right? We sort of take it for granted, but you could have just had this long one gone around whatever the amount of times, 11, 9, it could have gone around 30 times, and then just tied it at the very end. And that would be it. But we learn from, I'm sure you've seen that before, most people don't do it like that. Most people, I think, still knot knot the inside, and then they wrap around the outside. But you have seen that before, where they just do the entire thing without the knots. So says the Gemara, we learn from here that you have to make knots at every single link. How do you learn that? The Isak adaitach lo tzarich had yamri b'nei Rabbi Chia gardume tcheles ksherim regdume ezok ksherin kevan di ishtari lei kula. If it wouldn't have been that you need the links, so then once the top, all you have left is what? All you have left is a stump. Yeah. So then at the end of the day, the entire thing is going to unravel by itself. Let's see Rashi. Shma mina mid'amri b'nei Rabbi Chia gardume tcheles ksherin. From the fact that Rabbi Chia said that if you have just a gardume left, if you have just a stump left, then it's going to be kosher. Amai, hakevan de nifsa ksas hagedil mishtari hahu kesher shebesof hagdil v'chevan de mishtari hahu kesher mishtari hagedil ve'ein shem gdil klal. He says, I don't understand. You need to have a gedil, and if you tell me that just this much is left, then the gedil is gone. Then you have no wrapping around. So therefore, what? What do you see? So what it's telling you is that even if this unravels, so then even if this part gets cut off, you still have a gedil along the way. Basically, what I think the Gemara is telling us is that these knots are saving us. Because had the whole thing been wrapped like this with 1 knot at the end, once this knot would have come out, the whole thing unravels, and even if you have the tzitzis, like we were saying before, that are just hanging down, you're not yotzei. Because you need to have a gedil, you need to go around. By having these extra knots, I'm always going to be yotzei until this knot, the very last knot, goes out. Or seemingly, let's just say for argument's sake, the second knot goes out, so that I have at least a gedil of these parts over here. Again, I don't know, I have to check if they wrap their tzitzis exactly the same way, but basically what he's saying is that by requiring me only this much, proves by definition that I made other knots along the way, because if I only had one knot over here, which is above the minimum amount, then the whole thing would have unraveled. So the fact that they say that a stump is kosher clearly holds that within that stump there's a knot. The only way to have a knot within that stump is to assume that besides for the top one that they made a knot, they made knots along the way. Says the Gemara, Dilma de Ikter. No, you can't prove from here that you need to have knots. Maybe it's saying that you don't need knots. But the only way to be saved in a case where the thing breaks is if you happen to have knots. There's a difference between saying that the knots will save you and that the knots are required. So what the Gemara seems to be saying is that you want to prove that shmamina, that you need knots on every single link. No, you don't need the knots. But if you make the knots, it'll keep you safer, because then if you don't have the knots and it rips over here, then you're done. If you have the knots, not that you need them, but if you have the knots, then at least the knots will save you and you'll be okay if the rest of it rips.